my first time actually kind of getting away from the books and actually getting to see the topics and the experiences firsthand.
I took Laurie Weintrob's Nazi Germany and the Holocaust class when I was a sophomore. So I got a really great basic and actually quite comprehensive understanding of the events of the Holocaust.
So when I was young, I always did like a lot of my own research on the Holocaust. So when I saw that there was going to be an UAH about it, like there was no hesitation. I think I had a lot of moments on the trip where it hit me. I think two of the biggest ones for me was we spent the first part of the trip in Berlin, and then to get from Berlin to Warsaw, we took a train, which was a 6-hour train ride. And it really struck me then that, and Professor Weintrob planned it that way, that it was very symbolic of us being taken from Germany to Poland by train.
I think it was definitely in Auschwitz. At first I had a hard time kind of grappling with it, but once I started to go into kind of seeing beyond the museum aspects of it, when you actually started to see like the old videos of families, the old videos of life before the war and life before the Nazi regime, that's kind of when everything kind of came to reality, I guess. You realize that these are people. These are people who had lives, people who were happy, who had families, and I think that's when I kind of felt really distraught, and that's kind of where I lost it.
We were there for 6 hours. We did a 6-hour tour, and the first 3 hours we spent in the base camp of Auschwitz. And we were looking around and we're seeing all these horrific things, and it was hitting my classmates at different points, but then we actually stepped inside the gas chamber at Auschwitz, and I looked up and I was standing right underneath one of the vents where they would have dropped in the Zyklon B gas pellets, and then we walked through and we were in the crematorium, and then we walked outside, and that's when it really everything hit me, and I just had to step away, take a moment for myself. And it's still so hard to talk about, but that's one of the things I think I'll always remember from this trip.
The most memorable part of the trip was meeting at the Lauder Foundation. We actually got to meet a rabbi, Josh Spinner, and he told us about his experiences trying to rebuild Jewish life in Berlin.
The word in Hebrew is chinuch, so each of these words comes from a different place.
And basically he introduced us to his school, and we got to meet all these children, and they're, I guess, descendants of the Holocaust. Others are just, it was a really open community. Really, they were always more than welcoming.
I'd say that any real conversation that I had with someone who lived there was that moment for me when I realized that this is something that affects us outside of the classroom where we learn it. It affects more than me and my friend base and my family and the survivors on Staten Island. It affects people all over the world. So I'd say that those conversations that I had with everyone made this experience much larger.
The minute we were in the airport on our way there, and the entire trip, we got so close. Really fast, which was amazing. And we would have so much time in our free time over dinner, over breakfast, whenever, when we would just, without even being told to, we would just come together and kind of reflect on the experiences that we'd had. And I learned so much, I think, from my classmates too, from getting to hear their perspective and not always agreeing with them, but like we all respected each other's opinions, and I think we helped broaden each other's horizons. I think it's so important to learn about the Holocaust, and I really strongly disagree with those who say that it's not important anymore or it's not relevant anymore, because it is. Especially as someone who wants to be a high school history teacher, that's something I want to be able to instill in my students.
I really think that we need to teach it, because not only do we have to remember it, and not only is it in the past, it's not in the past really, it's still here today. I think it's really important that we actually apply it to today, because if we see what's happened before, we can help and try to correct it so it doesn't happen again.
Never be silent again, like never let anything like this happen again. Genocide, hate, you have to stop it, and the only way you can stop it is to learn about what happened before.